Thank you, and good evening. I knew this would be this big of a crowd down here, but it's still impressive to see, and I want to thank all of you for coming out today. It's a little nerve-wracking for me. I think this is the biggest crowd I've been in front of since my high school graduation. So, my name's Edward Randolph. I'm with the Public Utilities Commission. I just want to spend a couple minutes to explain what our role is in the alphabet soup of all the agencies that are involved with San Onofre and Southern California Edison and general electricity policy in California. We, in the case of nuclear power, the Public Utilities Commission primary role, thanks to federal jurisdiction that preempts us in certain areas, is on cost recovery. We are the agency that will determine whether or not Southern California Edison and San Diego Gas and Electric can recover cost from the steam generators that have been installed that are right now not working. If they need to be replaced, if they get cost recovery for replacement, if they get cost recovery for any ongoing maintenance changes that are needed that the Nuclear Regulatory Commission would determine they need to restart operation. That's not to say that safety is not a concern of our part, but it is a struggle on our agency's part at times to figure out where our role in safety for nuclear power comes into place. And that's in large part due to federal law. It's a little bit in part due to the expertise of the engineers at the Public Utilities Commission are not nuclear engineers, so we do need to rely on other places. That said, and I'll get to this in a minute, we also do rely on the public for input as well. And so there will be points down the road for folks in this room to have significant input in what the Public Utilities Commission determines going forward. For the last year, 9 months now, or just short of 9 months, the Public Utilities Commission has primarily been focused on what Rob was just talking about, which was getting us through this summer. Last January and then really going into February and March, I had a lot of oh my God days on how are we going to get through this summer with 2,000 megawatts of power gone. Fortunately, there are a lot of plans were already in place, and we had enough warning that we could accelerate some new transmission lines. We were able to get a power plant that was offline back online on a temporary basis, and we're able to make it through this summer. As Rob said, though, that was also due to a lot of luck. And people do need to be aware of that if talking about going forward, to say going through this summer we had no problems, thus we have no problems. That's not a completely accurate statement. We didn't have any sustained heat waves. We didn't have any major fires that knocked out transmission lines for a long period of time. We didn't have any major power plants go out unexpectedly beyond San Onofre. And to the extent we had heat waves, they tended to be isolated in San Diego or in Los Angeles, and they weren't all of Southern California for an extended period of time. And that really helped. And this is the first time I will say thank you, luck, now that we're, I think, through the end of the summer. I've been keeping my fingers crossed up until the 1st of this month when summer is somewhat officially over in Southern California. Going forward, we're already planning for next summer. We are not saying that we think San Onofre should be online or offline next summer, but we are planning for it to be offline as one of our scenarios. That's the only diligent thing to do. We also, long-term, have worked into our long-term planning scenarios are starting to look at the options of what to do with San Onofre offline as well. That gets fairly complicated when you butt that against other statewide policies that are already in place and we're already working towards. For example, the plan to shut down or repower all of the coastal power plants that use once-through cooling. If those goes offline and San Onofre doesn't come back online and we don't build other power plants somewhere within this region, things aren't going to work. So we need to start planning for that right now in case the NRC does determine that San Onofre can't come back online. There are other tools we can use, and we'll continue to develop on those and continue to look at those through both short-term and long-term scenarios. I'll also say that in a few weeks we will be opening a proceeding. It's one of those unfortunate agency names. It's called an Order Instituting an Investigation, which isn't quite what it sounds like, but it will be a proceeding to look at the reasonableness of Southern California Edison in installing the steam generators that they chose, and how they maintain them, and cost incurred, to determine whether or not they get to continue to recover the cost of those steam generators in rates, whether or not they owe what they have recovered in rates for the steam generators back to ratepayers. You know, how to deal in rates with cost of replacement power as the plants continue to go out. And to conclude, tonight I think at times I may say some things that are maddeningly vague. And the reason why I'll say things that are maddeningly vague is ultimately the decisions I just talked about that are being considered, haven't been determined, and get made by 5 commissioners who have been appointed by either this governor or the prior governor. It is ultimately their decisions. I don't want to say anything in here today that would prejudge their determinations. I can talk about process. I can talk about factors that will lead into their determination, but I can't make the conclusion. They're ultimately the ones that need to make